Well, here we are, another episode of Beyond the Cap with Jeff Woytovich. This episode, my special guest is Skylar Weaver. And you might have heard that name somewhere in the past because in 2019, this guy decided that he wanted to get on a motorcycle and drive from Washington, D.C., all the way down to the bottom of Argentina. And he did it. And he's here today to talk to us a little bit about that adventure. Skylar, how are you?
Doing great, Jeff. Doing great.
Great.
Thanks for the invite on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. 2019. It doesn't seem that long ago that you actually visited our office. We spoke, and then all of a sudden, I see these videos of you like going through the mud down a track, almost turning the bike over, and it's everything that you did. And I didn't follow you 100%, but I would go back and forth every once in a while and just see what you were doing. The process was a long one because we had COVID in the middle of that. But you started in 2019 after we spoke, and I just want to hear the story. So just take it from the top and let me know how you came up with this idea, what inspired you to actually go through with it, and then tell me a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like you said, I started this whole adventure in 2019. In August, I set off on it, but actually it started a couple months before that. I had kind of always had this dream to ride a motorcycle from the U.S. to Argentina. I heard it was first possible maybe like 5 years before that. I had followed some influencer on Instagram who had done this, and I was like, wow, one day, like, I want to do that. I want to explore Latin America, get to know, practice my Spanish. And finally it came the time when I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. And I figured as I was researching it, and going deeper, I was like, well, if I'm going to do all of this, I'm going to go on this adventure, I might as well do it to try to do it for a good cause, and do it for a good cause. Use the awareness, like the attention maybe that this adventure might get, and direct it towards a good cause. And I figured what better cause than something I personally was very familiar with, which was alopecia. And so I've had alopecia since I was 16, since I was in high school. Fell out all my hair, like in a matter of I have alopecia areata, so I still grow some hair, but most of it fell out in a matter of like a couple months in high school. And I recognize still that there needs to be more awareness of alopecia. And so yeah, I decided to do this adventure and to commit to riding my motorcycle from the U.S. to Argentina. I called it Adventures for Alopecia. I had some friends, and we formed a formal nonprofit to help to draw some of this awareness and as a place to receive funds. And set off with a mission basically of one, raising awareness of alopecia. So I tried to get on some news stations beforehand, spread it among friends and family, and of course I spread it as much as I could as I was on the adventure itself. Our second mission was to support those with alopecia along the way as much as we could. And so I tried to find some support groups that existed in Central and South America. And where there weren't support groups, I tried to find just people with alopecia so I could get to know them, share my story, hear their story, and try to offer support in whatever way I could. And then lastly, tried to raise funds for furthering the awareness of alopecia, the support of alopecia, support groups for alopecia, and research. Basically set off with those goals in August of 2019, with the plan that it was going to take like 9 months for the whole adventure to complete. And basically just in February of this year, which was 3.5 years later, I formally finished the adventure, made it to Argentina, made it to Argentina, the bottom of the road where the road ended, back to Buenos Aires, and shipped the bike back in February. There were quite a few number of unforeseen events along the way. One of those obviously was COVID. So the pandemic started not too long after I had started the adventure, and
Yeah, it's like
ended
I'm
up
going to go down to
going.
Argentina. What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I had expected some things to go wrong, but I will admit I did not expect a global pandemic that would
Yeah,
shut down borders for like years on end. But yeah, so that was basically it. Yeah, I made it down to Argentina. I mean, along the way, I think we accomplished the mission of raising a lot of awareness, or certainly there's a lot more people that now know about alopecia that did not know about alopecia beforehand. We ended up meeting up, or by the way, when I say we, I say like our organization, but really it was just me on this adventure solo. Um, and along the way, I met up with some support groups. One of those was a CAP support group in
yeah,
Jalapa, Mexico. Other groups existed, one in Argentina, and when I made it down to the bottom of Argentina, and most of the other places I met up with just individuals who had
right.
alopecia. I very quickly realized there isn't a support system that we have here in the U.S. that we maybe take for granted. There really isn't that in Central and South America, and so it took a lot of effort to try to find anyone with alopecia. And it's not because there aren't people there; there certainly are, but there just isn't really a good support group. A lot of the people who I met with alopecia, in fact, that I did find, I was the first one that they'd ever talked to that had alopecia.
Oh yeah, I can
So
believe it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was quite surprising. And so that was one of the other goals we had, and that I think went well. And although it was harder than I thought initially. And then the last one was to raise funds, and so we ended up raising, I think, 33,000 in the end of funds,
that's great.
which we are in the process of donating.
That's
To
awesome.
Yeah.
So, did you have the bike before you made the decision to do this, or did you make the decision and did you get to pick what kind of bike you wanted to get?
I had the bike before I made the decision, which I probably, if I had made the decision and then purchased the bike, I would have definitely chosen a different bike. The bike
Yeah,
was definitely not intended for what I did it with. And it worked. It worked. It was simple. It's a 250cc. It was like it worked, but it definitely is meant for like. I bought it in Washington D.C. and it's meant to like not leave Washington D.C. Probably like not go more than just a few blocks here and there, and
right.
and I went quite a bit farther.
Great. So, when you first left, like as soon as you left DC and you're going down, I'm assuming toward Texas to continue your journey through Mexico. What were your feelings before you got to Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, I was certainly a little afraid at first. I mean, you hear a lot about South America, Central America, right? Like that it's dangerous in certain places. They say in Central America, particularly in the border of Mexico, I think we hear a lot on the news, and um, and yeah, I was like a little afraid at first, but I was also like extremely anxious and excited about what lied ahead, and excited to explore. But as the trip went on, I made it through Mexico. Every country I made it through, I basically realized like, wow, a lot of what we hear is really kind of it's oftentimes like overblown or
Yeah, just yeah,
yeah, the expectations oftentimes, yeah, it's not as bad as people say. You only hear the bad things really. Oftentimes you don't hear the good stories of the many people like doing these trips or living there or having great lives in these places. And so yeah, I actually throughout the entire trip, I had no trouble with any human related trouble. Like no human
right.
related trouble. I had some mechanical trouble. Maybe I hit some animals on the way, but no human related trouble.
I think that's probably the worst thing that we do as people. We stereotype everything, and if you hear just like this much of something negative,
Yeah,
you just assume that the whole country is like that.
yeah,
And there's just so much more to explore. And I mean, obviously, you did that because, I mean, you went through Mexico, you went through the Latin American countries, and then you have the whole, all of South America. I mean, we're talking rainforest. We're talking about, once you got down into Argentina, some of those locations are just like totally you're by yourself. I
yeah.
mean, how did you pass the time being by yourself, knowing that there was going to be, good times and bad times when it comes to the weather, when it comes to mechanical problems, and maybe once you got over your fear of the people, because people are decent, pretty much like everyone that we know, when you're traveling.
Right.
Um, when did you start thinking about, there's going to be times when I'm going to be by myself? I mean, how did you feel during those times?
Yeah, it's true. And something else you said, like, I think it's easy for people to focus on the negatives, right? Like, and really, like,
Oh
and
yeah,
really just like us as humans, like, say, like, I think we're naturally inclined to like stick to something negative, like really focus on the negatives. And I think it's really important that we focus
oh,
on, I
I'm
try to at
guilty
least
of
be
it.
like
Yeah, yeah,
optimistic, right? Like, yeah, we all do, I think.
right,
And
yeah.
I really do try to be optimist, like an optimist. And I think that was kind of a key for a lot of the adventure, right? Like there's stuff definitely whenever you're facing a difficult challenge, like there's two ways to take it. You can really dwell on it and worry, or if something didn't go right and it was out of your control, you can really try to focus on that and like you can really focus on it, and it can eat up a lot of your energy, your mental well-being. Or you can say, listen, that happened. It was out of my control, and there's not much I can do about it now, but I must look forward and continue on. And like that, I think, is what I had to do a lot of times. And it's not easy. It doesn't really get much easier. It's like always a focus. You have to intentionally do it. But I think just trying to be optimistic, look forward, stay focused on what lies ahead rather than what happened behind is often, I think, helped me a lot actually.
So now, what kind of safety measures did you have? Did you have a satellite phone? Did you have like a plan B in case plan A just totally went off the rails?
Yeah, it's funny. I started with a lot of stuff. I started with a satellite. I started with a GPS GPS tracker that also had like ability to send messages. I think I had like this international like insurance plan in case like something went wrong. I
Right.
could get like evacuated. I had even just like regular travel insurance. And yeah, tents. And, I had like I still like had the tent the whole way, but like I had a lot of like emergency stuff. And as time went on, I kind of like shed a lot of that. Like I got rid of the GPS at some point. I got rid of this insurance plan because it was just not worth it in my mind. I realized like, okay, maybe a lot of these things are like maybe my expectations around the dangers were probably a little elevated in comparison to what they really were.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I ended up yeah, not having to worry that much about. I mean, I worried about it occasionally. You had to stay focused, right, and be aware of your surroundings. But I think it was not as big of a concern as I had initially anticipated.
All right. So I mean, I have to ask you, and I know, leaving Washington to go to the bottom of Argentina. I know you covered, what is that, 20,000 miles?
Yeah, 22,000 miles. I think is in total what I did. Yeah.
So you saw a lot of things. You went through a lot of countries and communities, but what were some of your favorite ones?
Yeah. I mean, okay. Um, I really I enjoyed lots of Mexico. I enjoyed lots of parts of Mexico. I think the food in Mexico probably was maybe the best I had. Like the tacos there
Oh,
were
no kidding.
incredible. Yeah, and I think especially in comparison to what you might hear about Mexico, especially us being so close, and hearing a lot about like the I don't know the maybe a lot of negative things around Mexico. Actually going through there, meeting the people, it was really eye opening and inspiring, and like it set a good tone for the rest of the adventure. I also really liked El Salvador. Actually, El Salvador is a really cool country that I'd heard also was quite dangerous before, but now has like improved a lot and
Right.
not many tourists. So it's really just people being really welcoming and friendly. Colombia, I also think has a really cool, interesting culture. Very fun and welcoming, friendly people also. Uh, and probably lastly, Argentina, I'd say was also like as you go farther south. In fact, like as you get closer to the bottom of South America, you get like more European influence. And so in Argentina, in
Right.
Chile, maybe a little bit in Bolivia, Uruguay also, you have like a lot of more European influence. And so it's like a different culture than what you see in most of the rest of Latin America. And it's also beautiful because you're getting it's like the Alaska of South America, kind of like you have mountains and
Oh, I mean,
snow and
just
cold.
just the whole Patagonia
Yeah.
region is like it's like being on another planet.
Yeah, yeah. Argentina is beautiful. Yeah, I'm tempted to go back there for sure.
Now, I don't want you to bring up any names. Just tell me what country it was, but what were some of the things that were not so positive?
Yeah. I don't think I could say yeah, I don't think there were any countries or people or cultures or anything that I was like, oh, that wasn't that enjoyable. Like I really think every place I went, I had a good time and I enjoyed it a lot. Maybe some different like circumstances led to
Yeah.
less pleasant situations. Like, I mean, simple things like one time I was in Nicaragua and I hit a pig in the middle of the road at night and almost could probably almost died, like realistically, like I ended up on the other side of the road. I didn't fall actually miraculously, but it did mess up the brake pedal and I couldn't really move the bike and it was late at night and so it was a close call. Like if there was oncoming traffic, yeah, I probably would have it probably would have been the end over there.
Did you know what you hit? Did you see it coming or?
I didn't see it until it was too late to brake,
Oh,
essentially.
wow.
And I nailed it. And I mean, it happens quite frequently in these countries. Like there's no real fencing along the roads. And so you have a lot of like animals that are in the roads. And I'm thankful it was just a pig and not like a cow or a horse or something, because that also happens.
So what happened to your bike? Just the pedal?
Yeah, just the brake pedal. Just the brake pedal. It was bent up. It was locked, and so basically, I had to like figure out what was going on there, in the dark, and I ended up just undoing it. I couldn't fix it there, so I just like undid the back brake, released it all the way, and just drove with the front brake until I could get to the next town, which is a couple hours away.
How did the pig fare?
The pig did not fare so well. In fact, I'm not sure if it was alive when I hit it or if it was already dead from someone else.
Right.
But yeah, the pig did not fare so well. And it's actually interesting in these countries as well. Like if you hit an animal, it's like your fault and you're liable to like pay the owner of that animal, like for the worth of that, the value of that animal. And so it's like not
Right.
like, meanwhile, I'm like, your pig was in the road. Like you should, you should be paying, you must killed me. Like
Right,
that's not how
right.
I see it.
Oh my gosh. And the one video that I was talking about in the very beginning, it was when, I mean, you were up high and
Yeah.
it was muddy and just very narrow and you were having a hard time. I mean, explain that to me.
Yeah.
Because then
Yeah.
hopefully some
That
of the
was
people will
in,
go back and look you up and see some of these videos.
yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure you're talking about the one in Mexico. It was in this mountain in Mexico. Um, and, and yeah, it was coming down out. It was like dry when I went up it, easy, no problem. And then it rained a ton and I'm going down this hill and I'm just like, wow, this is like no longer the same road that I came up. And my bike has like street tires on it still. It's like definitely not really meant for what I'm doing. And so like not even if I had, I think, mud tires, like what I was going through was just super slippery, like
Oh, it was
deep
thick.
mud. Yeah. And so I was wondering like, am I going to make it down this? Like I had no idea if I'm going to make it down. There were a couple of times where it crossed my mind where it's like, can I do this? Like, can I actually do this? And I questioned myself and I was like, well, I mean, I don't really have another option. So I got to try. And I did it. Yeah, I made it down slowly. I mean, I think I probably dropped the bike 3 or 4 times just in that one section because it was just so hard to even just walking along it, like I was slipping. And so I ended up making it, but yeah, and it was a lesson about the tires, if nothing else, like to put better tires on it, be prepared, but also just to continue.
Yeah, like when we spoke in 2019, I wasn't aware of a series, Ewan McGregor
Yeah,
and
yeah.
his friend. They did like 3 video specials, well, series, like 8 episodes, 10 episodes, or even more. They went around the world. They went from Scotland down to the bottom of Africa, and then I think they did the South American one also.
Yeah.
And I just remember when I saw that, I'm like, I gotta watch this because I knew you were doing it, and at that point, I wasn't really sure. I was thinking probably that you were already done, but I watched that and I looked what they went through, and they had a whole bunch of support. I'm just thinking to myself, I can't imagine the stuff that you must have experienced and went through.
Yeah. Actually, when that happened, like I was by myself, of course, and I was like, "Can I do this?" And there were people, thankfully, like had like come up behind me and they helped me out. Like many times, I got a lot of people that helped me out. They were just locals, friendly, and it goes to show you like people are friendly all around the world. But yeah, that's a great. It's funny that series has been recommended to me many times, and I actually have yet to watch it just because every time I'm like, well, it's kind of you're spoiling it for me a little bit.
You do
But I
have
could
to
watch
watch
it
it
now,
because it's. I mean, they have they have professional cameramen and everything. They're making it really
Yeah.
look, trust me, I'm pretty sure it wasn't as bad as it looks sometimes.
Yeah.
I think the last one, they took electric bikes,
Oh
and
yeah, I heard about
and
that.
they had support vehicles that were, uh, what are they called? Fisker.
I don't know.
It's an electric car, pickup truck or something like that. But
Oh,
so they were having a lot of problems finding places to plug in.
the charge,
And I
yeah.
think, I can't remember which one was the last one, but I think if people saw that, they would understand some of the things that you had to go through. Because I mean, I sold a motorcycle. I drove it from Reading, Pennsylvania to Milwaukee,
Nice.
and I think that was that was a journey from hell.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine from Washington to the bottom of South America. I mean, even as I travel now, just the stuff that you see when you're just I'm in my van, and I mean I'm in a hotel right now, so it's like it's easy. So how did you prepare for like the weather? I mean, that's
Yeah.
always something that I actually think about. So I mean, what was the weather like, and how did you prepare?
Yeah, that's like the one thing about being on a motorcycle versus in a car is like you are exposed to all of the elements in the motorcycle like just directly, and so everything from like the hottest heat in Mexico, Central America, to like really actually really cold temperatures like in probably southern Argentina, southern Chile, to like rain, sometimes snow even in southern Chile, southern Argentina, and yeah, it's kind of doing what you can, doing what you can with what you have. So I mean, I had some rain gear, but like once it starts raining and you're driving in the rain, riding in the rain for like more than half an hour, you're already totally soaked and you get cold really fast. And so it's just like there are times you have to pull over. Sometimes I had to like pull over and sleep because I was just super cold and super wet. Other times, like I would use a lot of like sometimes I was using Ziploc bags in Argentina to keep myself my hands at least a little dry. And in the heat, it's also like you have this like engine between your legs that's generating heat, and you're also wearing like
Right.
gear. I wore protective gear as much as I could, and the heat definitely gets to you as well. So you drink lots of water, stop. At least when you're going and you're moving and there's like no traffic, you have the wind against
Yeah.
you, so that can cool you down. Helpful. But yeah, the weather is definitely one thing that's when you're on a motorcycle that it's like really, it's really tricky.
Yeah. I mean, it's truthfully very impressive. I mean, it's something that, I mean, you should be very proud of yourself for being able to do that and getting through any adversity that you had. And you said that you lost, you started losing your hair to alopecia areata when you were 16.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
so what kind of experiences did you have when you were 16 moving forward that you decided, you know what, this is the stuff I'm going to do, and I'm not going to be held back because of the alopecia? Like, what kind of things made you have that resiliency?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would say, I mean, once I started losing my hair, right, and once I had alopecia in high school, like, I, I mean, right away it makes you a little bit different, right? Like, it makes you a little
Right.
different from the rest of the kids in school, whether you like it or not. Like, you're going to be
Right.
recognized as different, and um, and I think when it was happening for me, at least, like, I like for sure was upset and sad at first, and like I was definitely bummed out about it, and I was like, okay, well, I have two options here. I have the option to like accept that it like I have the option to like dwell on this and focus on it, even though it's out of my control and I really can't stop it, and to let it kind of control my life, or have the option to like take control of my life and accept it and embrace this as my new identity and move and try to move forward with it. And so like that's the option I ultimately was like, this is really my only option here. And so I ended up shaving my head and like jumping ahead of like of the rest of the hair falling out. Like it was basically all gone anyway. And and I think right then, like, yeah, I think it like I embraced kind of being different, and that was true not just there, but also going into college, like being a young 18-year-old as being bald, no eyebrows, like that was definitely noticeable, um, and yeah, I think like I as time went on, I also realized I think being different is definitely not a bad thing, and I think in many ways it's a
Right.
good thing. And like there are certainly advantages. There are advantages to being different. There's advantages to having alopecia as well. And I think it's all perspective. or a lot of it is perspective. And so, yeah, like ultimately, like doing this adventure, this is definitely something different. Like many of my friends think I'm crazy, thought I was crazy, and for doing this thing. And I was like, okay with it. Like, I was like, I don't want to be the same. I want to do something a little bit different than what everyone else is doing. And so I think it probably started with alopecia, and I'm thankful maybe that it did, and that I was able to do this adventure.
So, what did you decide to, when you got done with high school and you went to college? Where did you go to college, and what did you major in?
Yeah, I went to Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, and I studied information systems. So I was like pretty into tech and technology, still am, and yeah, kind of showed up there. Actually, I met someone else with alopecia one of the first few days. It was at my freshman year as well. It's kind of funny. It was also from my
Oh,
hometown,
cool.
coincidentally, and
Oh, wow.
I didn't really know him before actually. But that was cool. It was actually my freshman year. There were two other people in my year that had alopecia, that I did not, which I was not aware of before, and of my like maybe there were like a couple thousand people in my class, and so it's surprising how common it was.
Yeah. So, what's next? What's going to go on next? Where are you
Yeah,
going? What are you
so
doing?
well, I am in the process of, now that we've completed the venture, in the process of shutting down the nonprofit, and taking care of all of those things. So, like you're aware, we're donating some of the funds to CAP. Actually, today I just walked into the bank and we executed this donation. So 10K should be coming your way soon, and then we'll donate
And
them
we
also.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the work that you all are doing is incredible and impactful, and so we're definitely happy to support. And we're also donating some to NAF and to a group in Argentina that is doing some good work down there as well. And they
Can
don't
you
have much
tell
funding.
me a little bit about that group? I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah, so it's actually led by a woman named Mariella. She has alopecia. She's maybe, I'm not sure how old she is, but she's a little older, and she is organizing a group called Vivir con Alopecia Argentina, and has a group of like 15 women in Buenos Aires that I actually got to meet with. I think there's some photos on my Instagram as one of
Yeah.
my last meetups, and they're super enthusiastic. We all went out to a restaurant. No one wore their wigs, and it was a very fun time. And I was I was the only guy there, but they embraced me. They welcomed me, and uh, and yeah, she's running a great group. She's doing a lot of awareness right now. She's for Alopecia Awareness Month. She is having she's partnered with an artist, and so an artist is doing a bunch of body painting on some of her and her friends
Oh,
with
great.
alopecia, and it's a cool way to raise awareness. And so she's trying to do some more meetups, some more groups, and bring more awareness to and really help down there, because there's really not that much. There's no organization really else down there.
Yeah.
And even of Latin America, that was one of the more organized groups that I found, and so we're trying to going to try to support a little bit there.
Well, in the beginning of this podcast, we're going to have their contact information as well
Cool.
as NAF and everything else that you have a link to. We want to make sure that everybody can go back and check out your Instagram and see the adventure. And before you take that website down, to get over to the website, because I think I think mostly parents need to be able to see that you can be handed a whole bunch of lemons,
Yeah.
and there's only two things you can do. You can throw them away, or you can do something with them. And I want everybody that has alopecia to do something with them, because you can do anything you want. And you're the perfect example that you can do whatever you want. You get alopecia, you go to college, you study something that you enjoy doing, and you had a dream and you decided to do it. And yes, your friends were correct. You are crazy, but you did it. And that's the one thing no one can ever take away from you, because you're always going to be able to say, you know what, maybe I didn't do this, maybe I didn't do that, but I did what I wanted to do in driving a motorcycle from Washington, D.C. down to the bottom of South America. So, it just it just shows the parents that you don't have to worry about your kids. Just love them, raise them, make sure they're kind people, and they can do anything they want. That's it. It's easy. It's easy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree. Right. It's okay to be different. It's sometimes better to be different. It's great to embrace it, to own it, and realize it doesn't inhibit you in any way.
Well, I really do appreciate you being on the podcast. I think you're a great example of the type of men that I want in our organization to show the kids, that you can do anything that you want. And we talked about this before. We're going to get you to Alopecia Palooza. We need you to be there.
That would be
Actually, if you want
awesome.
to ride your motorcycle, you can ride your motorcycle to it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll take a car this time. I'm not sure how much more money I got.
It's okay. We take care of the transportation, so you don't have to worry about that one. Skylar, thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to have all the information for people to get a hold of you and to check out your adventures, as well as the 3 nonprofits that you are graciously donating to. And you should be very proud of yourself, because you did something that was pretty awesome, and I congratulate you.
Amazing. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for all of the impact you all are having with Children's Alopecia Project.
All right. You take care of yourself.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
We'll be in touch.
Now I got to figure out how to turn this thing off.
It's okay.
Oh, there it is. All right. See you later.
Cool. See you later.
Okay.
Okay.